Today's perfect puppy top tip is all about socialization. Socialization is the process of exposing your puppy to a variety of experiences, senses, and just exposing them to the world that they're going to have to experience as a grown adult. When you start planning your socialization, it's really important to think about the lifespan of your puppy and what they're going to have to experience. So, if you currently have a puppy and you live in a house in the countryside, but you are planning on buying a boat and sailing the world with your puppy, you need to be exposing them to the sea and being on boats whilst they're a puppy. If you are currently living in that same countryside house, but you are planning on moving to London within your puppy's lifespan, then you need to be taking them to busier locations, to busier towns, busier cities, exploring if you're going to need to travel on the tube with your dog when they're older, you're going to need to go and take them on the tube, things like that. And it's also really important that if you think about the senses that your puppy is going to have to experience. So, for example, taste or texture. So anything that they put in their mouth that they're either going to taste or is going to have a strange texture. Um, Quite often, we will give dogs tablets by stuffing a tablet into a bit of food, bit of cheese, something like that. I really like to give my puppies a bit of kibble wrapped in some cheese, so they've had that soft, squishy chew with something harder inside, so that's preparing them for any veterinary medications they need to have throughout their life. Tickling the hair between their toes if they're going to need to have their paws, their nails clipped, which they are, or if they are a furry breed and they're going to need the hair on their toes clipping, then tickling the hair between their toes and exposing them to that stimulus is really important as well. If your puppy is a breed that's going to have a lot of grooming, exposing them to a grooming situation, it be that at home or at a groomer's. A lot of groomers do offer like a puppy prep service, which is essentially where they go in and have a really nice experience getting to know the groomer and the environment, but getting them used to the sound of clippers, scissors, the nail clippers, the the sensation of being brushed. You can start that really gently. There are a variety of brushes, some of which do they're sort of more invasive. So some are quite scratchy, some will just remove a lot of coat, but be quite nice for the dog to experience. So start to expose to various different brushing techniques as well as just the experience of being brushed. Having, if they're going to have their hair around their eyes trimmed, having that played with, having hands near the eyes, having hands near the mouth, having hands almost lift the lips up and prepare for a mouth exam, and toothbrushing and things like that. All of that's really, really important socialization. Another thing that when it comes to taste is exploring different types of foods. So you may not, when my boys were babies, I only fed them kibble, and actually I really wish that I'd exposed them to some canned food, some raw food, some home cooked food. If you have a dog that's a little bit fussy, or if your puppy is starting to be a little bit fussy, exposing them to a variety of textures, not necessarily as their main food, so not necessarily as their meals, but treats that are different textures, different tastes, it can be really, really beneficial as well. And it means that if you ever need to change your dog's diet for whatever reason, you've got their experience bank is there to help guide you as to how you can do that. I do know some dogs, like if you offer Pumba a chip, because we were so strict when he was a puppy about not eating human food, if you offer him a chip, he will not touch it. He's like, what good are potatoes to me? Whereas, I mean, it's not important that he eats a chip. But if I needed him to eat sweet potatoes, for example, cooked sweet potatoes, that might be a problem. Whereas if I'd fed him that as a puppy, and if he'd been used to that being a food item, he may actually be better with something that could benefit his diet at a later stage. So not only that, but you want to be looking at sight. So exposing your puppy to the sight of things. Now, this could be just sitting in the back of your car and watching the world go by, sitting on a park bench watching the world go by, anything that is important for them to just watch. A lot of puppies will stop on their walks, and it's a really, really common complaint by puppy owners in our classes and one-to-ones, because they're like, well, I just want to go for the walk. However, your puppy on their first walks is seeing the world quite literally for the first time, and they need a moment to take that in. So if your puppy does just stop and is just looking, let them look. I give my puppies 5 minutes, and with Sonic, to be fair, she was quite a confident little bean. She didn't overthink things too much, but as soon as she'd stop, I sort of get my phone out, check the time, and I'd go, okay, we're going to stay here for 5 minutes, it's fine. every time within that 5 minute period she would move on. Some puppies might need the full 5 minutes, that's fine. But you would do far better to socialise them by letting them stop and watch whatever it is that they've stopped to look at, than to kind of hurry them along and keep them moving. Far, far better for your puppies to just watch. Sounds is an important one as well. So common household sounds, things like blenders, washing machines, dishwashers, alarms. Fire alarms is often something a lot of dogs haven't heard. And then as they hit the teenage years, if someone burns a bit of bacon, suddenly that fire alarm goes off and the dog can absolutely freak out about it. I'm not saying go and set a fire in your house to just socialise your puppy, but maybe play a few videos where a fire alarm is on YouTube or something like that at quite a quiet level, just so it's a sound that they've heard. Things like fireworks, really important as well. There is limited evidence that actually playing fireworks supports puppies in fireworks season and things like that, but it's worth knowing. You might know if you're going to have a problem far earlier before fireworks hit, so you can help your puppy come fireworks season if they do have a problem with the sound of fireworks on YouTube. Touch as well, so walking over different textures. Quite often rescue dogs, if they've especially if they've been rescued in a city and you take them to the beach, they go, oh my god, what is this sand? Like they can't walk on it. They're like, this is impossible, this is illegal, cannot do it. So loads of different textures, like literally raid your kitchen. Tinfoil, cellophane, any of that stuff, just have your puppy stroll across it. If they are scared at any point of anything, do not force them to interact with it. Do not. All socialization should be guided by your puppy. It shouldn't be guided by you and what you think your puppy should be doing in like this tick list of things that they need to experience in order to be a healthy, well-rounded puppy. It should be your puppy going, oh, hey, this is a cool thing to explore. Patter, patter, patter. I'm going to go over and interact with it, or I'm going to just watch it from a distance, or I'm not sure, so I'm just going to sit back and watch it and decide that actually I don't need to interact with it today and I'm going to walk off and ignore it. All of those are acceptable things. If they are afraid, if they're actively trying to get away from something, let them. Obviously, don't let them like run into a road to get away from something, but if they are worried about something, do not force them to work through it. Take them as far away as they need in order to just watch it calmly or carry on with their day. That's the only way to deal with fear as a puppy or with a puppy. And scent as well. So dogs live their world through their noses, and a lot of puppies actually don't seem to sniff that much, but you'd be surprised how much they're taking in. When puppies first come home, the first sort of sense that is going to hit them is the scent of you and your home, and that becomes the most reassuring thing to your puppy because that's what they know, having left mum and their litter mates. So if I ever have a dog spook at an inanimate object, so Pumba is quite good at this one, if we're on a walk that we do regularly and there is a sign that isn't normally there, suddenly it needs barking at, it is awful, it's terrible, and he'll be barking and backing away, so he's really afraid of it, and he's like, that's not supposed to be here. It's happened with a bucket near a stile once as well. If he's off lead or on a long line, if he's off lead, I just leave him to it, and I will go up and touch the item and transfer some of my scent to it. Then he will run up and sniff it, and normally as soon as I've touched it, he'll be quite fine to interact with it and move past it without a second thought. But what we're doing in touching it is transferring our scent, which is making the dogs go, oh, okay, not dead. And that reassuring scent is on it, therefore probably okay. So it's well worth thinking about how scent can benefit your dogs. And at some point in their teenage years, your puppy that you didn't think was sniffing that much is going to start sniffing. Let them. It's really, really important for dogs to sniff. They are dogs after all, and it's we live our world through our eyes. Our dogs live their world through their noses, and that's a really, really important thing for them to be able to do. Imagine if we weren't allowed to look at things that we find interesting. It would be quite a miserable existence in some ways. So think about the behaviour that you're going to do, the behaviours you want from your dogs, what sort of responses you want to various stimuli that your puppy is going to come across throughout their life. And think about the lifespan of your dog and what realistically their life may look like in that time. And that should guide your socialisation experiences. From there, select where you're going to take your puppy, what you're going to do with them. And whilst you are doing those things, watch your puppy. Tune up on your canine body language if you're not 100% sure on what you need to be looking for in order to see if your puppy's happy or not so happy, so that you can make sure that you are giving them the most positive experiences possible. And there's your whistle-stop tour to socialisation.